When it comes to choosing a new game to play, I always tend to favor titles that I remember fondly from my childhood. Sometimes I luck out and I hit gold in cases like Dragon Spirit the New Legend, and sometimes I hit the drizzling shits like Wrath of the Black Manta. Let's take a look at another game I played quite a bit during my childhood, Blackthorne on the Super Nintendo. Blackthorne was a game that I used to rent every now and then as part of Movie Gallery's epic 5 games for 5 nights for $5 deal. I feel like I could spend an hour-long discussion about how great that was, but we'll save that for later. Anyway, Blackthorne was probably one of the most adult-looking games on the Super Nintendo. The cover art alone was really intimidating to me as a child. The main character fit right in with the times of the mid-90s. This was the era of Metal, Spawn, and The Max. Everything was so gritty and violent, and this game lived up to those expectations. But does it hold up as well as I remembered? Let's pop this in and take a look. Here's my review of Blackthorne for the Super Nintendo. The story goes like this. You are Kyle Blackthorne, a young child from the land of Tool. The evil Starlog's armies are planning to take over your home castle of Stonefist to obtain the magical MacGuffin called the Lightstone. Knowing that his people are doomed, Blackthorne's father teleports him away to Earth with the Lightstone to hide and return one day when he was strong enough. 20 years later, you see our hero on the side of the road trying to hitchhike while holding a shotgun. Yeah, I bet that was pretty successful. He is magically then teleported to Tool, and that's where our story begins. Right away you'll notice that the mood of this game is fantastic. The environment of Tool is dark, gritty, and depressing. You start off in some underground tunnel. Old allies of yours are either chained up or dead. Enemies are abundant, and all you have to defend yourself is your trusty shotgun. Now I know the first question you're asking, can you gun down your own allies? And the answer is a definite yes. Yes, you can murder the shit out of them. As a kid, it completely amazed me at how violent this game was for the Super Nintendo. Imagine giving Mario a bazooka and he just blows the fuck out of Toad with it. Past all the violent craziness, Blackthorne is actually a pretty methodical game, and it plays more like a puzzler to me than anything else. You go from checkpoint to checkpoint, solving how to get through each level. In each area, there are different types of obstacles in your way, ranging from the good old blocked doors, unactivated bridges, high ledges, and a few other different types of enemies. So let's talk about the enemies for a moment. There's the common goblin with a shotgun, and he comes in a few colors. There are trolls with whips, evil plants, corrupt people from Tool, and rock golems. There are only roughly 5 different types of enemies in the game total. They do get harder as the game goes along, with all of their multicolored madness, but the lack of variety kinda got to me after a while. Every encounter with an enemy goes like this. You see them, you press up to hide, they shoot past you, and then you pop out and shoot back. This is every single fight in the game. Enemies later on do take a few more hits to kill, but you do also receive an upgraded shotgun every now and then, which shoots a little bit faster. It does help, but it feels like a crutch for poor combat mechanics. I feel like taking a minute to discuss the controls in Blackthorne. This is my main gripe with the game. Blackthorne is one of those rotoscope graphics games, meaning that the character is supposed to move more naturally and more realistically than with normal animation. In theory, this sounds amazing. However, in practice, it always tends to feel really clumsy, and it gets very annoying at times. The simple action of turning around feels like it takes an eternity, as well as crouching. Running is a death trap in this game. Your character does not stop when you let go left or right. Instead, your momentum carries you a little bit further. This wouldn't be such a problem if there weren't so many pitfalls in the game. Falling is basically the only way you're ever going to die, and it always comes at the worst times. Many levels end right after a big jump, so if you miss it, you'll die and go all the way back to the beginning of the checkpoint. You do eventually get used to the awkward controls, but they still kill you from time to time. Other games that I can think of just off the top of my head that had these rotoscope graphics are Lesser the Unlikely and Out of This World, neither of which were really that good. From a gameplay aspect, there really isn't much else to talk about. You just kinda go from checkpoint to checkpoint, solving various puzzles and dying from the awkward controls. There are only a couple weapon-related items that you receive throughout the game, and they're in the form of bombs. These basically one-shot any enemy in the game, however you also need the bombs to blow up the machines that control the unpassable doors. So if you end up using your bombs on too many enemies, you won't have them to disable the doors and you have to restart the entire checkpoint. They're basically only reserved for solving puzzles. Eventually I made it to the last boss, and oh my god, what a frustrating fight. This is the only boss battle in the game, and it's for a really good reason. The controls make this battle extremely frustrating. He has so many quick attacks, and you have to be very technical and small with your movement to actually avoid them. Most of the time, I wasn't able to dodge everything, but at least you can just kinda outlast them if you do it right. Thankfully, the last checkpoint starts you right at the boss, so you have an endless amount of lives to try to beat him. After a few tries, I finally got the hang of the battle and was able to defeat the dreaded Sarlacc. This feels so satisfying. In true Mortal Kombat fashion, he explodes into a pile of skulls and bones. And afterwards, you're treated to a pretty great ending. Blackthorne has freed the Andrathi people, reclaimed the throne of Vulras, I'm not sure how to say it, and constructed a new Stonefist castle. Within this new castle, we see Blackthorne and his sweet new throne, complete with Sarlacc's head as a trophy and a wench by his side. Can't go wrong with that. So in conclusion, it's hard for me to really rate Blackthorne. The graphics are pretty damn good, and the gameplay is decent for a puzzler. But the controls feel awful at times, and the music is entirely forgettable. I didn't really cover the music in this review, because there are only 7 different tracks in the entire game, and honestly none are worth mentioning. Blackthorne feels like a weird mix of The Lost Vikings and Out of This World. The price of this game is currently around 30 to 40 bucks. It's not bad, but it's not necessarily memorable either outside of the crazy amounts of violence. For these reasons, I'll give Blackthorne on Super Nintendo an above average 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was just okay for me, but I'm also not a huge fan of the action puzzler genre. That being said, in my opinion, if you can find this game for about 20 bucks, I would wholeheartedly recommend picking it up, because it feels so different from most of the SNES library, and it's definitely worth a playthrough.